John Keihne.
Unmute. There we go.
There you go.
What is happening?
How you doing? I'm trying to get a couple more people in on this. Michelle set it up and then had something come up and isn't going to be able to participate. And I said, well, don't do any good for me to interview him. You know I love the guy.
Right,
So,
it's not fair.
it's hard to get, they won't get an unbiased opinion out of me. I think the world of you.
I appreciate that. Yeah, I was like, I got the questionnaire last night, so I've been filling it out this morning, trying to get it together. And I was, when they ask you why you're running, I just was typing something out. And as I was filling all that stuff out, I got Kalani and Mercury down, and Kalani woke up. Then Mercury decided she was going to poop in her pants.
Yeah.
And, we're at home. So I had to get Mercury a new pull up and get her cleaned up and get the baby to go back to sleep. Then Michelle got home and here I am. I made it. But I got the questionnaire last. Who did this questionnaire? It's actually like surprisingly detailed and progressive in its and wide in its scope.
That comes from our Midwest State CAP Council. It has evolved over the years and become more progressive than what it used to be. So
I was really surprised at the answers, I mean, the questions, I was like, wow, this is like very, from education to, a variety of other policies that are not necessarily education focused,
Right.
Or I mean, labor. Well, I guess, yeah, because it was more education. You talk about like affordable higher education, stuff like that. I was like, interesting.
Right.
So, I mean, it's cool. I thought it was kind of, you fill out a lot of these questionnaires, and some of them are just a little tick box kind of thing online, and you just kind of go tick, 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 and that's it. You know what I'm saying? And yours is definitely more comprehensive.
Yeah. So Kim Cookbell was able to get on with us. She is the chairwoman of our women's committee. She is also the president of the St. Louis chapter of the Coalition of Labor Union Women.
Okay, cool.
So there's Kim. I had also invited Ron Lane to be on. He is our veterans chairman of our veterans committee.
I think I've met him.
You may have, but I asked Kim and a couple others to be on because, like I was telling you, I've known you for a few years now, and you're one of my favorite people. So I cannot do an unbiased interview.
I appreciate that. No, I appreciate that. But I also appreciate your support, man, because, like you've been in this for way longer than I have, to say the very least. And it's flattering to have the support of somebody that knows better than me. So.
Well, I don't know about that. You're out in the trenches fighting it out, brother.
We all are.
So we'll go ahead and get started. I don't know if Ron got tied up or is having trouble getting in. We'll add him if he jumps in later. The screening process, I think last time we just endorsed you without really having a screening. Hey, Ron, there's Ron now.
Yes, that is correct. I didn't get to interview with you guys last time.
Right. The way it works is we review your candidate questionnaire, and then we ask you some questions. Right. It's important to labor. And as I already said, it's kind of an unfair situation because I do have a biased opinion because I've known you for a couple of years and know that, you're a stand-up dude. So
I try.
Yeah, the way it'll work is we open it up for questions. Ron's with the Veterans
a lot of
Committee.
Diapers.
Yeah. Yes, you have. To get you guys up to speed, John has adopted his, I don't know if it's full adoption.
Yeah, we're up to guardianship, and our trial is coming up in a month or so.
Right, and these are nieces, I believe.
Great nieces. So we raised their mother. So I've got 32, a 26, two 22s, and we're raising our great nieces now. So we're guardians for our 22-year-old nephews who are disabled, and we are also guardians for this 1 and 3 to keep them safe from their unfortunately extremely violent father.
Right. So John and his wife, there's few people that you meet that can energize a crowd, energize a room, but are as good as they are when it comes to the issues that we as working Americans face. So I'm going to open it up, and I know neither of you have had an opportunity to read his questionnaire, but each of you will bring a different perspective to this than I do. So Kim, why don't you go first and introduce yourself and ask John some questions.
Hi, John. I'm Kim Cookbell. Nice to meet you.
Hey, nice to meet you.
I'm the president of the Coalition of Labor Union Women, and I work on a diversity committee with the St. Louis Labor Council. And as you know, right now, one of the hot social topics is the racial injustice issues that we're having across the country. Tell me where you are with that and what you're working for.
That's a very good question. Well, that has been a hot topic in my house since about 2005. My wife is Black, and we raised 3 Black kids. We've got 2 more in the house. I have given the talk to the 22-year-old boys who are 6'6", young men with emotional issues about 400,000 times. I have a white son who I've never had to give the talk to, and I don't worry about that issue. My wife is harassed in a variety in job situations due to her color. She's pulled over every 3 weeks or something out here, and officers typically ask her questions like, well, where do you work? Is this your car? Where are you going? All kinds of questions that as a white guy I have never encountered in my entire life. I also only get pulled over when she's a passenger in my car. And then lo and behold, I always just think, oh, have a nice day, sir, which doesn't seem to happen to my wife. And that's in, we live out in Labadee, but she could be in Wildwood or Franklin County or whatever. And that seems to be sort of like we need to have actually I have a lawyer now. So I just give it to the lawyer. And since we were foster providers for 13 years, foster providers and advocates, and then we've graduated into being guardians, and we've learned to use lawyers. So I just have a lawyer now, and I go, here, she got pulled over again, So I say that because I got into politics for probably 2 reasons. Number one is I've been a musician my whole life. So when I started playing music, I grew up in St. Louis and St. Charles. When I started playing music, I was playing with Black folks and bands. I play R&B and funk and hip hop and soul and jazz and rock and country and whatever else. But my friends were largely people I worked with, a lot of Black folks. And then lo and behold, I ended up marrying a Black woman, which was not necessarily my intention, but it just turned out that way because that's who I met and fell in love with. And so she happened to be Black, and I love her very much. And, but in being a white man, straight white guy, her life is just, her encounters are way different than mine. They always have been. So that has been one aspect of me, getting involved in politics and seeing the struggles that my friends, my colleagues in music, and now my wife and the kids. We lived in Wildwood, and I had a kid get we used to go to Breadco out here, and one of the boys was walking out to the car. We stopped, you refill your drink, right? And you go, oh, I'm going to get my iced tea. He walked out to the car. Within 90 seconds, some employees decided that he was out in the parking lot trying to cause a problem, and they're all out there. And I'm like, why are you harassing my kid? Like, I'm here every day. But, he's a kid with brown skin standing by a car. So they assume that, even though the white kids in the neighborhood can go clown and ride motorcycles in the parking lot or whatever, our kid with brown skin can't stand by the car for 90 seconds without somebody thinking he's into something. So it's good. The Michael Brown thing, when Michael Brown, Trayvon Martin, one of my kids was Trayvon Martin's age when that happened. And we lived in a nice neighborhood. And when that happened, I said, that could have been one of my kids just as easily. One of our kids could have been going to the store right down the street, being in Webster or Baldwin or Wildwood or whatever, to get some friggin' Skittles. and some jerk would go, hey, you know, you're into something, and somebody with some issues could have hurt, killed something, one of my kids. And so all those issues, like, they are in my house all the time. I may be a white dude and I don't have to deal with that, but you know, my wife and my kids and a lot of people I know do. So it's, I guess my concern is that this is yet another escalation of energies. I hope that we can connect it to more political action and get to the root of at least the leaders who have a responsibility and some power and some influence in making changes. I don't know how many, you know, I think changing people's hearts and minds is a greater cultural, you know, thing. But when we have a president that basically the dude is supported by racists, you know, and so you could say people can argue whether he's a racist or not, but if the KKK, people like white nationalists support what you do on a regular occasion, I would say you might want to think about what you're doing. And so that, you know, that's part of the political aspect. My opponent in particular is a white nationalist sympathizer, and she represents my household. So I also have a problem with that. So like I said, I'm trying to connect all these dots every day into helping my family in a variety of ways, not the least of which is social justice and so forth and so on.
Good. Do you have any questions, Ryan?
Yes, I do. Oh, well, first of all, how you doing?
You know what? It's a beautiful day. I had to find a place where I didn't have a crying baby or something going on. So I'm on the front porch. So fortunately enough, it's a nice day.
Well, I have met you before. I recognize you, and I know
Yeah.
your name. My name's Ron Lane. I'm the Veterans Committee Chairman for our local. My question to you is, as far as on the veterans issues, we have a lack or a vacuum of veteran leadership as far as the state of Missouri. My goal and a lot of my constituents' goals are to set up a veterans commission in the state of Missouri. First of all, how do you feel about that? Where can we go about doing that? And maybe you can give me some insight on where I can go forward with that.
Yeah, I'd love to. Well, number one, my biological son, who's now 32, did 6 years in the Army Reserves. He did not deploy, but I appreciate that. You know, I think for him it was an opportunity to get a little extra money. It was, you know, a week in a month and 2 weeks a year, et cetera, et cetera. I will also say that I love my son. He has a very good heart. He's a little lazy, so that 6 weeks of boot camp and training changed him. I could see such a huge difference in his demeanor from, you know, before, and, you know, he's kind of a mama's boy until afterwards. And he wasn't the yes or no, sir, which I'm sure you recognize, but it was more, he stood up straighter and he made more commitments to the things that he did. And now he's been at a charter unfortunately, he did not take advantage of the GI Bill when he could. He could have gotten that schooling for free and he didn't commit to that, which I wish he would have, but he's been working at charter for quite a while. And he's got a variety of professional certifications, and, you know, he's an engineer and makes decent money, and he's married and gave me a little granddaughter and has a really nice wife and owns his house. So my older brother was a Marine. He did 4 years. My stepfather was in the Army. I personally never did any of that. But I also have a lot of friends who have served. I have a neighbor down here who right down the street who I've been actually talking to. He was airborne. I guess was a paratrooper kind of thing. And
Right.
he was in an accident and he fell 100 feet. In a training accident, he fell 100 feet to the ground, and it crushed his body. And after, I think he had like just, you know, dozens of surgeries to put him back together, they let him stay in for about another couple of years while he recuperated. But he deals with a variety of PTSD issues, health issues, et cetera, et cetera. Some of his friends who did not have that unfortunate circumstance did deploy, and so forth and so on. And I've actually been trying to coordinate with him to try to put together a veterans kind of roundtable to inform me, because I think some of his issues have been, say, VA issues. A lot of cats that I have met have some serious PTSD issues. And the PTSD, like, we deal with trauma too. Like, the kids that we raised have severe trauma from just crazy stuff happening to them. And so I'm sympathetic to the idea of that, except, you know, being in combat is a whole, I don't know, it's apples and oranges, I would say, you know. Nobody wants to be a little kid beaten up. And certainly when you go overseas, and one of my friends is an IT guy, and he was deployed in Baghdad. And I don't think he had to do very much off base, but he still, 4th of July is horrible for him. You know, he was on base in Baghdad, and, you know, I guess, you know, they can get bombed, mortared, bombed, shot, whatever, 24 hours a day. And to come from St. Charles or North County or something and go to Baghdad and, you know, someplace on halfway across the planet and be shot at all the time, or a risk of dying, freaks people out. I have another friend who lives down the street who was Air Force, and he flew, he was a bomber, and he has a very hard time living with the fact that he, you know, flew an airplane and dropped bombs on human beings. So, you know, I see the different ways that serving and being in combat affects people, you know. And while on one hand it's a patriotic thing to do, and it's the service to our country, on the other hand, when they come home, a lot of these folks are just not the same. And I don't know that we are very good, from what I can see in talking to them. I don't think we're very good on two counts. I don't think the VA does a very good job of being ready for them when they come back, even, you know, when they're in conflict and they deal with all this stuff, and they have to reconnect with their community. And what are they going to do? Where are they going to work? What skills can you use? My older brother worked on Hawk missile batteries, so he did like radar, and he took that technology that he was working on as a radar mechanic in the Marines, and he's actually turned that into an entire career that was guidance technology, which then became cell phone technology, which has now become doing stuff with fiber optics. So from what he did in the 70s, he's turned that into a career. But that was partially because he was in, like, his job in the Marines was more of a technical job, so he could take that out of there and do something. If you're combat, if you're doing something else, or just for whatever issues, I just think people put so much of their lives and make so much of a sacrifice internally, even if they aren't injured, that we have to figure out a way. And I wish war would stop, but I just don't see it happening. You could probably tell me better than I know, but we're in so many conflicts in so many places around the world all the time. And these guys and women are getting shot at, and they're being threatened by people that are trying to kill them. Pretty much the threat it's not 9 to 5. You don't clock in and out of that threat. And so I not only do I think that we need to I think we need to come up with ways to look at what these people are looking at, because this is not a new problem. This is old stuff. Why are we still talking about this? My question is, and what I need to learn better about is, what can we do at the state level to help with veterans? I mean, one thing I really appreciated was, and I know it's for enlisted guys or women's spouses, is that actually I know somebody whose husband was enlisted, and they were based in Virginia, and she went to school, got her nursing certification. They were then moved to Puerto Rico. The certification didn't work in Puerto Rico anymore, so there wasn't that, you know. So I'm glad that Missouri actually, you know, passed a law this last year to make that reciprocal certification thing for spouses of, you know, people who are serving. So yeah, I mean, I just feel like there's so many unanswered issues, but when I talk to men and women who I know who have served, man, they really need help, and that they need, a lot of folks don't know how to access the VA. You know, my guy down here goes to Columbia to go to the doctor. My understanding is he feels like going to Columbia is better than going to South St. Louis or South County or wherever it is. And like, you know, and to try to, you know, make it more available so that people can go to the doctor or the hospital of their choice instead of driving down to South County or out to Columbia or wherever, you know. It seems like there's a lot involved there. Like I said, I'm not exactly sure what we can do at the state level, but whatever there is can be done, I would certainly explore it.
I love it.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things that we like to talk about is positions on organized labor. I kind of have the upper hand because I already know where you're at on it. John's family comes from a teaching background, or John comes from a family full of teachers, is the best way to put it.
Yeah.
That we're all in the teachers union.
Yep.
John
just got the NEA endorsement this weekend, I found out. So that's good. I finally got a hold of them.
Congratulations.
Yeah, that was one I couldn't get a hold of them 2 years ago. So that makes me happy.
Yeah, good. Clean Missouri is going to be on the ballot, John. And looks like we took a spill.
Oh, that's
Clean Missouri is going to be on. There you go. Clean Missouri is going to be on the ballot in August. That's going to generate a lot of additional voters. With COVID-19, it's hard for you to get out and get on doors and things like that. What is your strategy to reach as many voters as possible?
That's a good question. I actually composed something on here. So I ran 2 years ago against Dave Schatz and learned a lot about campaigning, number one. So it's kind of like campaign 101. And typically we knock doors and make calls. And one of the best ways to get a hold of people, doing events can be great, but if you don't have a lot of supporters to show up, or like in our case, we're in a red district. So we don't have anything to plug into here. We don't have the strong Democratic Party with strong Democratic supporters that know that there's this event or that. So we have to make a lot of stuff up. Not knocking doors this year. I cut that off. Kind of like I play music for a living. So when my buddies said that they weren't going to be playing gigs, it was like the middle of March. And honestly, it was like March 14th, March 13th, something like that. I talked to a candidate friend of mine that same weekend that said he went out and tried to knock some doors, and the doors were not happy. So not doing that right now. And some of my musician friends who were playing that weekend got COVID-19, and fortunately all of them recovered. Few have intubated, but it's with us, and we have to deal with it. Conversely, or in addition, we're trying to win. So phone banking is something that we can do to reach out to voters. I'm sure all of you have phone banked, and you all also realize that if you make 6 calls, you're probably making 5.5 voicemails. But it is the means that we have. I'm actually, I didn't have band access 2 years ago. I didn't have the funds to do that at first. And then once I did, I was already rolling with other stuff. So I was just dropping a bunch of lit and knocking tons of doors. I knocked every door 2 years ago. Part of the reason why I knocked every door 2 years ago was because the DPI in my district was 27. So 27% of the vote wasn't going to win me anything. And the van had not been updated in years by anybody. So my strategy is that we need to find Democratic voters. Doing the numbers, I needed to find hypothetically the other 23 to 24%. And actually I learned about the win number. I actually exceeded my win number last time, but because there were so many more people that participated in the campaign, it was immaterial. But I picked a higher win number this time based on a higher number of voters than have ever voted in our district so far. But so phone banking, number one, we've been phone banking since last fall. It has not been as robust as I would like to. It's really, really hard to get people to phone bank. I have lots of postcards. I have over 24 people postcarding for me right now. So I actually have, 3-4 dozen volunteers that I can get to do stuff, and everybody has something that they will do. But I could call on probably about 75, 80 people that will do a variety of things, maybe up to 100. I mean, I had 80 for my kickoff. I think I had 80 volunteers that were doing something somewhere. So I have those resources, just giving them things to do. So we're lid dropping. I actually I cut my turf. I'm starting on the west side here. We're going to lid drop every day, which is something that we can do. Hit a neighborhood. I'm hitting every house. And we have postcarded. So I don't know if you all use the van very much, but the quality of the van data is, we were using van data that was from last fall. It was the DNC 2018. I think that was the only available. They eliminated the lean, and now they're making us use ratings. So the lean thing is out of there. I had pulled the lean earlier, and my first attempts was to try to identify, we have 51 precincts, to try to identify 51 precinct leaders, kind of going to that Howard Dean 50-state strategy. I love that. And trying to identify our precinct leaders in each precinct, because the party has not done that. I talked to my party leaders in St. Louis County and Franklin County, which I already knew, because I've seated a number of township chairs in Franklin County over the last couple of years because there weren't any. you know, I still have four open ones in Franklin County in my district. So I say that because it's been I had to start from scratch. So I've tried to, from the top, identify my precinct leaders in each precinct. From the bottom, we've been trying to identify the other 3,600 voters. And in the middle, trying to get more people involved and engaged. So postcarding, we're up to about 4,000 some odd postcards. So I think we pretty much hit that bottom 3,600 people some way or another. The data has improved over this last year. So I pulled a new list a couple of months ago based on better data. And I think the quality of our postcarding and our phone calling has improved. But we're active on social media. I have about double the number of followers that she does on my opponent, Dottie Bailey, has on Facebook, and a whole lot more engagement. She's been on Twitter for a while. I'm pretty active in that, but that is a platform that we can use. Twitter's kind of a big deal, secondary on Facebook. I haven't done a whole lot of Facebook promo, a little bit. I'm recording a variety of videos. We have a YouTube channel. We post all our stuff on YouTube, so that stuff's available up there. And I really just think we need to hit these voters. So lit drop is something we can do. Phone bank is something that we can do. Then keep putting this money in the bank so we can do mailers, because I'm sure that she's going to do mailers, and I'm sure they're going to say, you know, John Keihne eats babies and is taking your guns and all the stuff they do. But we have to figure out whatever way that we can to engage with these voters. My goal was this year, going into this year before coronavirus, was if I have 10,000 voters, 10,000 votes that I'm looking for, I want to touch each of them 4 times. And it's just, you know, in this sort of era, it's made it challenging, but that's still the goal. And like I said, phone banking. And so since it's so hard to get people to phone bank, I always push on it, ask. It's just the ask every time. I'm thinking that some of that money I'm going to spend paying people to the phone banking, because I just feel like we're not, for the foreseeable future, I don't see us knocking doors. But like the lit drop is cool and you're getting the name out there and people might read the piece of lit, but it's not the same as knocking the door and saying, hey, how you doing? And even with phone banking, I think phone banking could be slightly more effective. But again, if you phone bank, you get, 5 messages and maybe you get to talk to one person. So talking to 5 out of 6 people or whatever it is not exactly effective either. We can't go to events. We can't hold events. So, it's going to be social media, phone banking, lit drops, stuff like that. We're also going to work on, so I've been connecting with the protesters. So believe it or not, they're doing protests out here too. I don't know if you noticed that the Washington Missourian had a big turnover there last week. You guys know that?
I did not.
Oh yeah.
But
so
I don't want to cut you short, but we've got a union meeting that starts in 15 minutes and everybody's got to get ready for it. So
Go ahead.
About the turnover at Tell us about the turnover at the Missourian.
Yeah. Well, we have some protesters that from Franklin County, some black folks that one young lady grew up in St. Clair, and she started organizing protests around the area. And so
nice.
They got a little standing in St. Clair with a group of people, black and white, standing there doing a Black Lives Matter. I never thought in my life I'd see that. God knows I've knocked the doors and I've asked people, but the Missourian put out a paper with a racist cartoon, and the protesters who had been active for a few weeks pointed it out, and they were all about like Thomas, like if they found a black person to write for, they found like the Thomas Sowell kind of people and stuff that were like a black face, they were writing white crazy stuff, and it just very racist approach to things and cartoons. And that guy Bill Miller, who ran the newspaper, had to step down, so he's gone.
Good.
Total turnover in leadership.
Well, John, the way this is going to work is we've recorded this candidate screening.
Okay.
We will share this in our political page, our CAP page for UAW.
Okay.
And we'll take feedback from some of the other members of the committee, and then we'll make our endorsement based on that.
Okay.
As we've endorsed you in the past, I don't foresee any issues. I've always said it, you're one of my favorite people, and I appreciate the opportunity to sit in on this screening with you. Hang tough, buddy. Stay active, and I know you will. And but we're going to wrap it up. So, John, thanks for taking time out of your schedule to meet with us.
Thank you. I appreciate you meeting with me.
Yep. Thank you all. I'll see you out at the meeting in a couple minutes.
Yes, sir.
Awesome. Thank you, folks.
Care, John. Bye.
All right.